Good evening, everyone, and welcome to This Week from Rockdale, the Sunday edition. And I am your host, as always, Larry Cox. I'm glad to have everyone joining me this evening, and I am going to say hi to some folks. Start off with good evening, William Campbell and Tina Hobbs, James Corbett, Dan Burks, Charlotte Gellert, Mary Boysworth, Marie Withers, Cheryl Moulton, Laura Skelton. I believe that's everybody that as of right now. So if you guys wouldn't mind liking and sharing the show so that we can get a good audience and so people can know what we're talking up. So, sure, you wonder if there was going to be a show. Yeah, there's going to be a show. We try to always do a show. Very rare that we won't do a show. The Wednesday show will be a show that sometimes we wouldn't do, but the Sunday show, um, holidays, no matter what's going on, we'll find the time to actually do a show. Let me welcome a few other people. Welcome, Catherine Lynn. Welcome, Gail Davis Owens, and welcome, Clayton Orwig. Nice to have you guys join the show tonight. And I mentioned earlier, I think we're going to do somewhat of a recap show tonight and talk about some of the things that we've talked about over the last few weeks because not everybody's been on every show and we've talked about some of these things. So, I want to recap, what's going on so that that everybody can get a good idea of how things are going uh, this year. December Sunday is the 25th. Hey, you know what? I'm going to do a show on December the 25th, so I'm good with that, guys. I'm fine with taking an hour, doing a show, and if people can't watch it live, then you know what? They can catch the replay, and I'm fine with that. I think we owe it to the citizens of Rockdale County to actually do a show. Hey, and I'm going to actually pledge this in 24 when I run for chairman of Rockdale County, and if I'm fortunate enough to get your support and win that race in 25, uh, I will continue to do a show, even if I'm chairman of Rockdale County. I may rename the show at that time. You know what I mean? May rename it. Like this week from Rockdale with the chairman. Maybe a little bit of a rebrand, but I will promise the folks that if I'm elected chairman in November of 24, I'll continue doing a weekly show because that will be a great way for the chairman to be on social media and you guys can come on here and have a one-on-one with the chairman. I can give reports, tell you what's going on, and I can tell you, going to be very different if I become the chairman of Rockdale County because the current chairman talks about transparency and information. Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm elected chairman, you're going to know more than you want to, because I'm not going to hide anything from you, and you're going to know it. And I think sometimes you're going to wish you didn't know it, but you are going to know what's going on, why it's going on, and you'll understand some decisions that are made and why decisions are made. Laura Skelton, live from the chair. That's right. I like that. Laura might go there. So hey, this is what I want to talk about tonight, right? So I want to go back and you know, I I, I had a few weeks ago, and I discussed um, the fact that we've had so many directors in the last 30 months, and actually it's been the last 24 months. You can even go at less 18 months, most of these directors. But I wanted to go back to at least 30 because I wanted to capture all the DOT directors and the RWR. So, but the majority of these directors are under 2 years. It's actually under 2 years that we've had all these directors, and and the total is actually 17 directors of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 departments. 17 directors of 7 departments in a 2-year span. So let's just go over these a little bit. So we have had 2 directors of finance, 3 directors of stormwater, 3 directors of Rockdale Water Resources, 3 public relations directors, 3 planning and zoning directors. We will be having 3. We have our second one resigning. They will be hiring an additional one. So that'll be 3. We have had 3 Department of Transportation directors. Guys, I'm just telling you right now, there is a serious problem when you've had that many people have resigned. I had a conversation with somebody, we had a conversation, a group of people in the county with some accounting type people the other day. And when I mentioned to this individual about there being this many director changes in that short of a time period, that person said, well, do you think there's a lot of payouts going on, a lot of kickbacks with, that many directors changing in that short of a time period? Sounds like there's a lot of people jumping ship because they don't want involved in potential fallout of some kind that's going on that they found out about that we don't know about. And I'll tell you, I've not said, I have maybe implied that or maybe, indicated that. But I'll tell you what, with that many people going away in that short time period, it, besides a toxic work environment, it does lead to indicate or one to assume that there are things going on that these individuals don't want to be accused of. They don't want to take the fall for. So they get out of Dodge so that they are not the ones that are on the hook for things that have happened. And I believe that. I believe that, part of the reason we have this going on is that, that a lot of the individuals do not want to possibly have their name dragged through the mud and investigations on possible wrongdoings. And I think there's kickbacks that are going on because, let's be honest about something. I'm just going to talk about the elephant in the room, the courthouse in Parker Road in Old Town. The only reason that, and I've said this, in this way before, that the only reason that any rational individuals would make the decision to put the courthouse in Old Town is because they would have something to gain from it. And that gain would be kickbacks. Because at Parker Road, there would be no kickbacks from land purchases because the county already owns the property that a courthouse would go on there. So there would be no possibility of someone making additional funds because of a land transaction. But otherwise, if you look at Old Town, there's going to have to be land acquired, buildings bought. There's just going to have to be that kind of thing to happen for a courthouse to be built in Old Town. And there is the possibility for kickbacks to occur in Old Town. And that is not a possibility at Parker Road. And I think that's, what we look at. And that's the assumption, the logical assumption that one would have to make, that there's dirty pool afoot, that there is nefarious activities at hand that would occur or will occur. It's not would or could, but it will occur because a courthouse will begin construction at some point in Old Town. Because even if we're successful in 2024 and are able to defeat the chairman and we have a new post 1 commissioner, we're going to be committed to a project there. And the best we can do then is mitigate cost and damages that this administration will have already began and burden the county with. So, if I do pledge at this point, as if elected commissioner, I will mitigate that and make that as painless as possible. But I'm not certain what we'll be able to do. I think my suggestion moving forward would be to redirect as much SPLOST funds as possible to paying the debt off. That's what I would suggest, and hopefully, get people on the board to go with me. And like I said, one of the key first things I'm going to do is ask the board to send a resolution to the delegation expanding the board of commission to 5 people by district, so that the county at large can have a say in what's going on, and not just the centralized down Old Town area manipulating county policy, and that's what's going on. So, hey, Danny, nice to have you join us tonight. Thanks for joining the show as always. Danny's a loyal This Week from Rockdale fan. I think she just likes to hear about the corruption and the nonsense that goes on here, because even though it's reality, someone would think this is a fictional town and a fictional county with all the crazy crap that goes on. You wouldn't think that it's reality. But it's real. This is real, and it's what we face and live on a daily basis here in Rockdale County. We live in the twilight zone, where you wouldn't think these things would even be possible, but they are. And Dan says she loves reality television, and that's what you get. With Rockdale County, you get reality TV. Kathy Robinson, nice to have you. Hi, to you too. So it's just ridiculous. But I look at a lot of this and that. But I'm one of these guys that I continuously see the glass as half full. I believe that at some point people have enough. Their palate is full of the sour taste, and they will spit that nectar out, and they will say enough is enough. And we've got to retake our government. Our voices have to be heard, and we need to say what we want and elect individuals that will carry out the will of the people and not carry their will out upon the people. But that's the purpose of representative government and a republic. It's that the voice of the people is the message that politicians hear and elected officials, and they take that message and they implement it once in office. But we've lost our way, and that's not what we're doing. That's what I really want to see happen again here in Rockdale County. So, this is just one of the things when I talk about these 17 directors. And the misinformation. Let's talk about the original misinformation. We were told 3 years or so ago that if we raised the salaries significantly of the directors of Rockdale County and put them in line, not with just government sector, but with private sector, that we would not have all the bleeding and turnover that we'd had in the past. So these characters implemented these large pay. We don't have a director that makes under $100,000 in Rockdale County. Not a director that for under $100,000 in Rockdale County. So they implemented these raises. Now that's before they all just got these additional raises this year. These were raises previous for these directors, because the misinformation was, if we give them all this money, then we won't have turnover. Well, guys, we've had more turnover since they implemented the raises. Since they implemented the raises, they've had more turnover than they did before. This is just crazy that, and I'll tell you, being from the private sector, and there's a lot of folks on here that I know come from the private sector, and I'm gonna tell you, throwing money at these kind of issues never solves the problem, because the problem is always deeper than money. Someone mentioned about they're talking about morale in the sheriff's department. Well, there's a morale problem across the whole county, and it's very apparent with this turnover. So throwing money at this never improves morale. It doesn't. So you've got a toxic work environment, bad morale, and for this level of employee to be fleeing the scene, I speculate and assume that there are shenanigans that are going on that they don't want tied to them, because they don't want to face either criminal or either professional fallout. This is what I believe is going on when you look at this kind of turnover and this kind of number. Well, then the chairman will be saying, you've got those naysayers, and they'll say, well, you know what? I'll take a book from the Alex McDonald thing from the TPS. Alex, Mr. Chairman, prove me wrong. Or James, was that Mr. DeWitt? Mr. DeWitt, prove me wrong. Did I say that? I should have said that, but I did say that. So y'all, it is what it is. So, but this is the thing about it, guys, is prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Explain to me why, you said give them the money, they will stay. We gave them the money and they run harder and faster than they did before. That's the reality. The reality is you gave them the money and they run harder and faster than they did before. You're the one that said we give them the money, they will stay. You didn't tell the truth. That's, again, misinformation from the chair. Then we have these latest round of tax increase hearings. I want to call them millage rate hearings, but I call them tax increase hearings because that's what they are. And, the BOC put out their original press release and a notice, which is required by law because they intended to raise taxes above the rollback millage rate that was suggested and set by the state of Georgia. And that rate was at 14 point something percent, which is the rate that the increases should have been weighed against. But, they put out the 20.69% increase in the publication, like they were required by law. And then, we go to the hearings, and next thing you know, they present this millage rate proposal, and it's 18.69%. And on the bottom of it, it did say revised. It said revised proposal. Said it on the bottom of their proposal they had on the big screen. So, but then one of the guys gets up there, one of the citizens, and it's confusing when the county starts putting out one thing and then does another. It's misleading, misinformation. And the guy says, well, apparently there's some folks that have been saying that it was this and it's misinformation. And the chairman, he leaps right on it like a frog on a lily pad. And he says, yes, there are people out there, the naysayers, and they're always going to spread this misinformation. And you need to know what's going on, and this is the source you need to come to. Well, that's the source. The source that he's saying come to is the source of the original 20.69. They're the source of the 18.69. They were the source that posted the original rollback rate that the state. Now that number just totally disappeared. Everybody quit talking about that 14 point something rollback rate, because then they started selling the 16 point something rate that was the previous millage rate. One didn't even want to talk about that the rollback rate that would have collected the same amount as that 16 something was 14 something. So, totally a bunch of misinformation. These guys are crazy. We get this misinformation going on, and and then and they say, but then they're just so brave about it. It's citizens that are spreading this misinformation. Citizens actually just talked about and reported, those of us who have these local media shows, we just reported the information that the county presented to the public in the form of press releases and on their own websites and social media pages. We just talked about the information that they presented, and then in turn, when we talk about it, they call it misinformation. You know, these guys have been spreading misinformation for a long time. I mean, it started. I mean, you go back to even to the courthouse bond issues back in 2018, when 70% of Rockdale County citizens voted to not support a courthouse and a bond. You can even go to this past election when asked on the ballot, both Democrats and Republicans both asked similar questions about a courthouse, and it was very clear from the answers of the citizens they don't want to build a new courthouse. They would rather renovate the existing and do an add-on to that. And is that possible? 100% is possible. We, in today's construction age, or you go to Europe, there are things that are 1,000 years old that they renovate and make sure that is usable today. So guys, I mean, when they start talking about that, we're not able to do these things. We can't repair this building. That is so ridiculous and so not true. They can. Then they want to start talking about the American Disability Act. Unless we repurpose that building is grandfathered. So, I mean, so they're not going to make them move out of that building. They're not going to. That is, again, misinformation that this Board of Commission, this county government spreads. That so what narrative they're trying to say, that's what they do. They spread misinformation to enhance their narrative. That's what they do. But, it was very clear, in 2018, 70% of Rockdale citizens said no to the bond. This past election, people said no to actually building a courthouse. I mean, that was the answer. The point blank answer was people do not want to invest in a new facility. They want to repair the one we got. And it can be done, and it can be added on to right there where we are and make the repairs in the room. Now, would that mean we might have to shift some things around, move some departments, or move some things out to other buildings that the county owns while we're going through a renovation process? Most likely, but you know what? Part of the process. Part of the process, guys. And they will tell you this. It has never been the intent of this county government to tear that facility down. Their intent has always been to renovate it. That has always been the intent. The intent has always been to renovate this building. Charlotte, you mentioned that task force, and I'm just going to tell people right now, I commend you and the other folks that have been going to that meeting, but virtually it has been a waste of time because that task force really had no authority. The only thing they did was determine an architectural firm that was going to render a set of drawings to the county. The county has already decided what, where, when, and how. Those are foregone conclusions because it is clear that this county has ignored the will of the people since 2018 and found a way through bypassing the citizens of Rockdale County, getting the local legislative delegation to pass a public facilities authority and not give the citizens, because this is the thing about it. The county point blank said, please don't put it on the ballot. Do not put this on the ballot, because the county knew that if they would have put the PFA on the ballot, it would not have passed. Point blank, would not have passed. Then we go, let's talk about some additional misinformation about the SPLOST that we had an election for this past cycle. Now, the county illegally campaigned for this SPLOST, violated the law, didn't care that they were violating the law. And they would spread misinformation like, if the SPLOST doesn't pass, you're not going to have police coverage or fire coverage. Not true. Constitution requires that counties provide that service. Constitution, Georgia Constitution provides that. So these guys are ridiculous. These guys are just totally ridiculous. But they would spread this false information to scare citizens, scare tactics. Then, I want to go to one big piece of information that we found out. We see that the county, during the tax increase process, and the chairman stood up there and said, that some of the citizens should be ashamed of themselves by trying to scare senior citizens into thinking that the county would take their homes. The very first day of the first tax increase hearings, right next door at 903 Main Street, that very first day, they were having tax sales. And what are those tax sales? That's when you can't pay your property taxes and the county sells your house for delinquent taxes. So the very first day we're having these tax increase millage rate hearings, the county's having a tax sale to sell delinquent tax sales. And also, there's some people who've been doing a lot of open records requests, and they found out that the county owns a lot of homes, a lot of a lot of residences. Why would the county own a lot of residences? Maybe they're residences people couldn't pay their taxes and now the county owns them. Okay, could be. Do a little more research into it, but why would the county own a bunch of homes? There's only a few reasons why the county would own residences, isn't there? Only a few reasons why the county would own a bunch of homes. Really is only a few reasons. And one of those reasons is that they're homes that they didn't sell through the delinquent tax thing, or they've not put them up for sale yet. Only a few reasons why the county would own residences. Only a few. Just think about it. But, you can believe Chairman Nesbitt, because he says, county's not going to take your home. We just asked you a question, viewers, and answer it. If you don't pay your taxes, do you think that the county is going to let you keep your home and not pay your taxes? You answer the question. I'm going to answer the question right now in the chat because I think I want to. See there? The answer is hell no. They're not going to let you keep your property if you don't pay your taxes. This past year, I understand that the tax commissioner made some deals and extended some payment options on some people who couldn't pay their property taxes so that they wouldn't have to do the tax sale. But what happens next year, guys? We just increased taxes, but we just did a balloon tax increase on these same individuals that had to cut these long-range payment plans. Are they going to be able to enter into an additional long-range payment plan that they're not going to be able to keep up? If they couldn't pay their taxes last year and their increased taxes are more this year, what makes us think they're going to be able to pay those taxes this year? They're not. And in how many payment agreements the tax commissioner uh, uh, get into with a resident over a piece of property? I mean, you can't. Those individuals aren't going to be able to keep up with those payments because each year another tax bill comes due. Each year another tax bill comes due, and it just compounds. And I said this at the meeting that this board of commission, this board of education, and the city of Conyers are taxing senior citizens and income individuals in Rockdale County out of home ownership. They're actually taxing senior citizens out of independent living. And enough is enough. It's time to stand up, and it's time to. Clayton asked the question: does the county own more commercial or residential properties? That would be an interesting question. But what some people did find out through an open records request, that the county owns a substantial number of residential properties. A substantial number. So be interesting. Be interesting to know. Exactly what's going on with that. So Dan Burks, we're looking into that. So Dan's one of the guys that are looking into that right now about the commercial residential and the county owns stuff. So Loris Kelton's got a comment here, and I think this is, house values are already starting to lower, and we will be paying the higher tax rates next year on our houses as our houses are devalued now. And that's true. And I'll tell you something else, guys. As these values are devalued, and if they have to increase the multiplier, which is the millage rate, to make sure that they get their money, they will, because this county they need X number of dollars because they've committed themselves to so much expenditure that they're going to have to get that money somewhere. And let's just be real. We think we're paying a lot of taxes now. You haven't seen anything till that PFA kicks in and they've got to pay that $110 million debt that they're getting. And we've talked about this, guys. $110 million is not going to build what they want to build in Old Town. Not going to do it. Maybe it might be a third of what they're going to need. So they're going to go back to the legislature. Let me tell you what, in the state of Georgia, cannot allow a half-built facility in a municipality in this state, and they're not going to. They're going to grant the county the means to extend their PFA and to levy more taxes and issue more bonds. And that's ridiculous. So I think as citizens of Rockdale County, we should expect more from our elected officials. We should expect more from our elected officials, and we should expect them to be actually transparent with us. We should expect them to be honest with us. That's what we should expect. And we shouldn't keep electing the same dishonest, misleading, misguiding, corrupt, and people who are just of bad moral character. I can clearly say this. I think that two of our commissioners are individuals of bad moral character, and one is delusional, incompetent, and may have dementia. That's what I believe. So, that's what I think. You can not agree with me all you want, but two of them are of bad moral character, and one of them is delusional and has no clue of what's going on. And I question whether they are living in the reality that you and I are living in. That's what I see. That's what I see by decisions that are made and statements that are made from that board. That's what I see. And you know what? And you guys see the same thing I see. Do you guys think that we have a competent board of commission? Do we have a competent board of commission? I'm going to give y'all my answer to that too. The answer is hell no. That's right. It's hell no. Mary, you got it right. It's hell no. We do not have a competent board of commission. They are incompetent. Not only incompetent, but we've got this, like I say again, guys. We've got two of them who have no moral turpitude, none whatsoever. The other one is delusional, incompetent, and I question her mental faculties. Question them. I have to. I have to question it. And you as taxpayers and voters must start questioning the same thing of these individuals. They are not qualified to actually hold the offices that they hold. When you look at their records of service, what they've done, this was the private sector, none of the three that hold those positions would be considered for those positions if they were private sector jobs. None of the three would have gotten an interview for those positions. None of the three. None of the three would have gotten an interview. So why in the world do we continue electing them to office? That nonsense has got to stop. In 24, you're going to have options. In 24, the Democrats are going to run 3 or 4 people for chair. It'll be probably 3 or 4 people running for the post 1 commissioner. And then I myself will be running as an independent. We'll be on the November ballot. So when one of those characters makes it out of the primary and they're in the general election, you won't have to elect them unless you want to. I mean, and if you do, then the punishment that happens to you, one can't say you're going to be deserving of it if you elect them, because you're going to have options. In the past, people said, well, we didn't have an option in the general election. They were the only one on the ballot. Well, that's not going to be the case in 24. They're not going to be the only ones on the ballot, and you will have an option. Guys, I think I've said enough tonight. I think we've recapped this week. I'm going to do some research and try to, talk about some new ammo, throw some new ammo out there, and ignite some new fires. So we'll see what we dig up and what we come up with. But I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do, for the opposition that you put out there against these tyrants. That's what I actually think this Board of Commission is, a group of tyrants. Because they're tyrants, stealing your money, taking your money, squandering your money, wasting your monies, and then telling you you're going to like it as I abuse you. And there's nothing you can do about it, because that's what they think. So, hey, guys, join me in this effort to reset Rockdale County, because we can make a difference. It just takes one person at a time, standing up, calling this nonsense out, and saying, I'm not going to vote for this anymore, and I'm going to get my friends not to vote for it. Because if we stand up and do this together, we can make a difference. And we will make a difference. Because I believe that enough people have had enough. So thanks, guys, and I'll look forward to seeing each and every one of you again this coming Wednesday on This Week from Rockdale.